Well, welcome back to the channel. I'm sitting in the back of a Ram HD. This is a tradesman. And this is a Ford HD. It's a lot bigger actually. Now the purpose of this video is to compare a tradesman that I have to the left and the XLT. So you already know what's happening here. This is a mismatch, but it's a good mismatch, I promise you, because I think that both of these cabs have their advantages, but the trim levels is what really concerns me about the Ford. Although the Ford has a bigger cab, they do not give you as many features available in the lower trim levels. So let's get into the video. If you don't know, Ford has an XL model and they have the XLT. So this is basically more compared better to a Bighorn Ram. But I do think that despite this being a bigger cab, I think that Ford doesn't give you as many features up front compared to what the Ram has. So let's go ahead and start here at the front. Now, as far as your power controls, obviously most trucks today do have power windows and power door locks. This XLT does have a power foldaway for the mirrors, and you can extend them out for power on tow mode too. So as far as that goes, Ram does not have an availability to do a tow mode. The only way you can put the mirrors in tow mode is by pushing them up manually. So that is an advantage to the Ford. Where Ram does kick it up a notch is they do give you availability to do a power for the convex on the tradesman. You can also heat these outside mirrors to a part of a package too. Now, unfortunately, there is no power seat availability for the tradesman, nor can you adjust the pedals automatically, and there is no telescoping steering wheel for the Ram. However, you do have a power function for the pedals on the Ford, and you do have a telescoping steering wheel. Another advantage for the Ram is you do have push button start standard, no matter if you get a tradesman on up. You also have an availability to upgrade your screen to a 7-inch cluster, and you have an 8.4-inch display, and you can now get a 12-inch display in the tradesman. Dual climate controls available, and yeah, the list keeps going on and on. Now let's check over to the Ford. I do not see that there's an availability for heated outside mirrors for the XLT. And as I mentioned over here, a lot of the safety features that this Ram has, the Ford does not have available. And keep in mind, if you would like push button start, you would have to move up to a higher trim level. Now this is XLT compared to a tradesman. There's a lot more features available. So if you want to start it up, you have to insert the key. It's not a big deal, I guess, but it's just the simple fact that a lower trim level Ram has some things available. So you have to keep in mind when you're building trucks at the dealers. Now, as far as your infotainment goes, things like that, your screen inside of here, this is the only one available for the XLT. And it has some good information in here, but it's smaller and it doesn't have the same flair as the Ram did. This is a, I believe, 8-inch screen, and the Ram's is an 8.4. Now that is an option, so just keep that in mind. You would have to opt for a bigger screen. So I believe the standard one is 3.5 or 5 inches, but you can get the 12-inch display inside the Ram tradesman. You also have the availability to have dual climate control too. You cannot get that inside of the Ford. Now, some advantages that this XLT does have over the tradesman is that it does have heated seats available, and you cannot get that unfortunately on the tradesman. You would obviously have to move up to a similar trim level, but you do have LED interior lights, and this is not available on the tradesman or the Bighorn. I also like, and I say this all the time, I love where Ford puts their auxiliary switches. A lot more convenient, and it doesn't take away from the buttons down below. I want to make a quick clarification. About 2 months ago when I got that footage for this video, you were able to get adaptive cruise control and adaptive steering. Now I do not see that those features are available anymore with the Tradesman. I don't even see that rain sensing wipers is available, so I just want to make that clarification. But you still can get blind spot monitoring with the cross path detection, and of course you can get the 360 camera view as well. Now, I could have sworn that Ram did offer heated seats and steering wheel on the Tradesman back maybe in 2019 or 2020, but for 2022 I do not see that option anymore. And as I mentioned, they just give you incandescent bulbs inside the interior, even on the Bighorn. Now, both Ford and Ram are available with rear sliding glass. It is power on the Ram trucks, and they do have the defrost too out back, which is very helpful. And on the Ford, it's the same story. It is power, and they do have the defrost back in the rear, that glass. Now let's talk about backup cameras. So, as far as this truck goes, let's put it in reverse. This truck does have a pretty clear backup camera. You can zoom in to the conventional hitch. And as far as the backup camera goes for the Ram, it is a little bit bigger screen. You can zoom in. And I think this one definitely is a little bit more clear too. So a few things I want to go over really quickly. I do like the fact that on the Ford you do have a shift column better over this dial. This is the only that's available for the Ram. Now, if you talk about USBs, you do have 4 USBs, Type A's and Type C's, and you have a power plug up front too. They do give you an additional USB inside of here, and this is a Type A USB as well. Now here are the auxiliary switches for the Ram. Even though this is not a bad area to put them at, I just like the placement a lot better in the Ford. Alright, so let's look at the USBs and plugs for the Ford. So you have 2 right here, Type A, Type C. Okay. You have none inside of this area. However, they do give you like a standard car power plug. And they give you one more standard plug with a actual plug here to the right of it. I kind of like the placement of Rams a little bit better, because if you have something plugged in right here, it's just up here. I don't know, I like how in the Ram it's further down, so a little bit cleaner. There's not as many USBs in the Ford either, and no matter what trim level you get, they give you the same amount. So Ram is definitely more generous than the Ford. I just drunk some water. Let's talk about cup holders. So you do have 2 cup holders right here, and if you slide this, you can get additional cup holders to get 4. This water bottle will go in the door on this side and on that side. So that's 6 cup holders up front. You do have 2 more, 7, 8, and we have 1 right here and 1 on the other side. So that's 10 in total. Unfortunately for this test, this is a lower trim level compared to the Ford, but you do have a bench seat, so you have 3 here in the center. You have basically a spot to put really 2 water bottles here. You can put 2 water bottles in this area. So 2, 4, and this is going to be 7 in the center. And let's hop out back. They do not allow you to put any cups in the door here. I mean, although this will fit inside the door, you know, we won't count that as a cup holder because it can move around. So we had, how many did we have up front? We had 3, and then we had 7, right? 7 up front, 8, 9. So that's all that they have in this truck. Now, if you did have a 5-passenger, you would have additional cup holders right here too. So that's just something to consider. Now, as far as storage goes, we really can get lost here. So there's storage under the seat of the Ford, and actually a little bit more back here. There's definitely some storage in the doors for some stuff. You also have seat back on both sides. This front door has actually quite a bit of storage right there, a little bit right there. On the side of the seat here, right in this area, has a cover too. If you're not using this for cup holders, some there. Deep storage in the center console, and a little bit of storage up top and bottom. There's a little bit of storage up top, and I think I showed this to you guys. You do have some sunglass holders, which can act as storage too. You can definitely tell that the Ford's interior is bigger just based off of the doors. So the door on the Ram is a lot smaller. And then look at your storage here. Now, as far as the configuration for the cab, this doesn't have a 5-passenger, so I will say, even though this is a tradesman and we're comparing the tradesman to the XLT, the Ford's going to win this. But I will say that you still have decent storage inside of here. You do have a little bit of storage down below. You have taller storage here, and you have a decently sized glove box. Up top, you have some storage, and as I showed you earlier, you do have a sunglass holder. You do have storage on the doors, and quite a bit of storage under the seat here, and a little bit out back too. But I think that comparing the tradesman to the XLT, unfortunately the Ram does lose that for sure. But if you were to step into a Bighorn and get a 5-passenger, the Bighorn would win hands down for the center console alone. Now, to end off this video, here's where Ford wins the whole thing. The cab size, the headroom, and just the flat floor surface, these things really do work together. Now, I will say the seat does sit lower out back, so your legs do sit higher, and that's because they did raise this floor up. And I think that it's still comfortable overall, but the headroom that you get inside of here is way better than in the Ram. And I think that's just something that Ram needs to do. I think that they've been holding on to this cab because it's cost effective. So this is basically like a 4.5 gen. And the only thing that's really different is the front clip, the tailgate, and that's pretty much it. But let's check out these seats, and then I'll show you the Ram, and then I'll pretty much end this video. I do prefer the Ram seats over the Fords, but because they do give you a telescoping steering wheel, and that's not even available on any trim level for the Ram, I still think that the win goes to the Ford. I like the seats better in the Ram, but you just have more function inside the Ford. But as I mentioned, the true win for interior design and functionality and technology is 100% Ram. You cannot get, and that's really the focus on this video, is the Ford has a lot of advantages over the Ram, but this being a lower trim level, this actually beats the Ford in a lot of categories, crucial categories, because that being a higher trim level and this being a lower one. And as I mentioned, the safety features you get, and just the technology, like the 12-inch displays available, dual climate control. I mean, there's just so much. And with this being a base model truck, you can even get a larger screen here to have even a better readout. So everything's a lot easier to use, and there's just more information. Here's the biggest, winner for me is this gauge summary. You can't even get this in any Ford, and really no other manufacturer other than Ram does this, because I think that they know a lot of people do tow, and they want this information really at their fingertips to get to easily. But I hope this was helpful. I know this was kind of a boring video, but I really wanted to just compare these two trims together because you get so much more in the Ram. And I hope that Ford changes that a little bit with the XL. I think that some people really want a base truck, but there's some features that they want to be able to package into the truck without having to buy a $3,000 package. And that truck, you know, that's really all you can do. I mean, there are a few standalone things, but for the most part, you have to buy expensive packages. And this is the same thing goes for Ram. Ram does it too, but there are a few things that you can buy separately. Like you can get this little screen separately. And if you get the 12-inch, you would have to buy the level 2 equipment, but it's not as expensive as it would be like on like a Laramie or Bighorn. So again, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope it was helpful. Be sure to subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you soon.